what it takes to print nice 3D figure. Well, first of all, we need 3D model, and you might be under the impression that it's very easy and you can generate it and print it right away. Well, that might be true, but only for some small models that fit your printer printing area. So the second thing you usually need is to deassemble 3D figure for printing. And here things start to get complicated. But today I'm bringing good news for you guys, because we have a crazy update from one of the best 3D AI for 3D printing specifically that helps not only split model into the parts, but to create right connectors and even arrange it for your printer. And altogether, it allows us to approach 3D printing fast as never before. Let me show you the whole workflow and also give you some tips how you can address any issue and get it ready to 3D printing in no time. And right before we start, hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks in advance, and let's get started. So for this video, I'm gonna create this amazing mecha, which is from my favorite anime of all time, Gurren Lagann. And this guy basically is Gurren Lagann. And what's good about it is that I have to create it in parts because I want it relatively big, and I actually want the drill to be bigger. I'm gonna change it in the later stages, and it's 100% not fitting my printing area. I'm using Elegoo Ultra 16K. It has relatively small printing area, especially for big figures. So we're gonna need to split it in parts. But first, we need to generate it. For generation, you might know a lot of 3D AI, but my favorite still is Hitem 3D, which has recently renamed themselves into Hi 3D. A bit of historical information from me is that these guys were actually the first to introduce 1536p resolution for mesh 1 year ago, releasing Spark 3D, and that time that was revolution. Right now the quality alone is not what stands out, but they decided to make a great focus on 3D printing, which is amazing for us. And they released the tool called Split to Print, which we're gonna use. So I already prepared all of my reference, and we're gonna use multi-view. Here we have some image enhancement and remove backgrounds. Use them on demand. That they works pretty fine, but I used to prepare my reference to get 100% of control. I do have separate video about references. If you struggle with them, take a look. For the model type, of course, we go with quality because we're gonna split it and I want each part to have as much details. But we do not need really a texture, so we're gonna go for geometry. Right, for us, for 3D printing, that's not really needed. License, private, and in advanced options, we can pretty much keep everything as is. I will only uncheck UV unwrap, since again, we do not do texturing, and that's pretty much it. So I did few generations, and here are some options. And also Hi 3D offers free retries up to 3 times. 100% use them. Generative AI is generative, so for something complex, you might want to do free retries. Then here are the options that you get. Split parts, texture edit, but we don't really need that. So you can download it here, or you can keep it here, and we need to go to the next feature. The next feature, and the reason of this video, is split to print. So we're gonna go here, and there are 2 modes. The first one is character, and there are presets. You can select the model you created here. If you prefer generation in Hunyon, Tripo, you can bring it here and process, which is great. But my character is a bit more complex than this, and I definitely want to split more parts. So let's find my character in upload. Okay, the model is selected. Now I'm gonna choose professional mode. There is a tutorial that will help. And for segmentation, I'm gonna go with low. Actually, low and medium is more than enough for printing because high really splits into a lot of parts. And then we're gonna generate mask. So the mask is step before splitting into the parts, so you can confirm amounts of parts. So it looks like this, quite simple. And what do we need to do here is that I want to first separate the drill and also the shields on the shoulders. Well, not shoulders, but arms really. We're also gonna need to separate. So there are a bunch of tools here like lasso, split, and merge. Here in the instruction, you can see what they does. Basically, lasso helps to add new parts like this. Split allow you to select one part that is already separated and split it like this. And merge is to select two parts and merge them by pressing the confirm. In my case, I just need to split parts because mostly it's all good. So we're gonna need to split the drill, and then we're gonna need to split shields on the arms. If you did something wrong, you can always press mask record and revert. Well, that's pretty much it. We do have all the parts and we're ready to hit the generate. And here we go. Here's the result. There is a explode mode and we can review the result. And And overall, the amount of parts is exactly as I need. There are a few things that we need to address here is that there are some floating pieces that are separated with mask, but what we're gonna need to do is just select them and join them with the object that they belong. So let's say in my case, it will be the object like this. And don't worry about holes, we're gonna fill them because they're a special function. First, we're gonna merge regions and make sure we do not have floating stuff left. Okay, all done, and now we have everything fine. No floating stuff, just the pieces that we need. And we can actually hit the fill face button. That will actually cap holes in a very nice and smooth way. You can preview the result. In my case, everything is fine. And we finally can move to this new cool feature, which is configure connectors. It's available right from here, and don't worry, this progress will be saved and you can always restart if you do something wrong. And this is an amazing tool. So first of all, you can see it show you the list of parts. You can explode them and review, and we can start adding connectors. I'm gonna press add all connectors and we can review them. There are 3 types of connectors supported: ball joints, pin, and dovetail. Most of the time I use dovetail, and not only you can set the shape, but you can control scale, assembly fit, connection depths, and angle. You can control them all at once or do it one by one and add it like individually with individual settings like angle. Let's say in this part I want to connect it like this, then you can hit generate, and for arm, let's say I want ball joint. That's also possible, and you can do the settings that you really need here. Let's say I want it like this, and maybe I want it like bigger or smaller and stuff. And you cannot imagine how much time you can potentially save if you use this tool. In my case, I'm gonna choose dovetail for all of the connections and hit generate button. Great. Here we go with the results. We can assemble it. Also, there is another preview mode, which is X-ray, and we can actually see how tight the connectors go. You can control assembly fit parameter. If you choose loose, the hole will be basically bigger than the connector, and the opposite. The tight will make it like 1-to-1. I personally advise to keep some space because after printing there might be some painting job, etc. And now you can see there's some extra space in X-ray mode. So from here, if you're happy with the result, definitely do the save, and you're pretty much ready to do the printing. You can download it in any format that you want, or if you use Bamboo Studio, Orca Slider, Eligo Slicer, you can actually send it directly. I use Chitubox, so I'm a little bit unlucky, but I definitely recommend it to try. You might think that's all, but no, there is one more cool thing, which is smart arrangement, which can help you to prepare your parts according to your printing area and do the distribution in the maximum efficient way. For example, for any resin printing, support minimization can be actually very useful. That of course can be handled by most of the slicing software, but to have it as an extra option is absolutely great. Okay, now let's go back to our saved model, and before we export, I want to show you one more thing, is that here right away you can add the base, and they're pretty cool actually. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna choose base 19 and we're gonna put it on the bottom like that, and we're gonna export it all together. And here, by the way, some other cool examples that I generated. This crocodile is absolutely sick guy, and yeah, you can see how I actually split it. You can generate it together with the base, that's not a problem. I just forgot to do that, and I just simply add it with high 3D. Now let's export this guy, and we're not going to start printing. Why? Because technically, yes, you can, but since this still is generative AI, there might be some imperfection that you want to address. And for this, I really recommend Blender, since it's a free tool, and there is a sculpting mode, which is absolutely insane, super easy and fun, and you can address any issue. Let me show you. So we're gonna bring it to Blender, and by the way, we're gonna need to create connectors for the legs. We can review that all the connectors are here, and I can just move parts and you can see everything is here, everything as promised. It's absolutely great, but there will be always some stuff that we want to address. And as I said, we're gonna go to sculpting mode. The first brush that I use almost all the time is smooth brush. That can help you to address some imperfection. Let's say I don't really need these lines here, just smooth it. And by the way, before we continue guys, if you're new to Blender, I have videos specifically for you. It's made for complete beginners, and just after one evening you'll be quite good with Blender. A link is here. So as I said, smooth brush is what I use 50% of time, and also you can access it when you work in any other brush. by holding Shift. All buttons that I press you can see here on the screen. Now this also can help to smooth some creases like this. My second favorite brush is definitely Grab or Elastic Grab. There are both brushes that are so cool to use. Basically, it's like working with clay. Let's say I want to adjust the lines here on the drill and I just select the right size. Again, you can select the right size here in radius, or you can press F hotkey and control the size. And as simple as this, I can easily adjust the shape. There's another brush called Pinch that is made perfectly for these cases that will help to pinch and make these holes more narrow. And one more cool brush that I want to show you called Pose. And yeah, you might guess it helps to pose some stuff. It understands the shape of the object, and let's say I want to move the arm a little bit to the side, and here you can see it draw the line, and we can easily move it like this. Really helpful. Sometimes when you work in sculpting mode, you might face the situation when there are some stuff that you cannot remove or smooth, or you cannot make holes or draw on the mesh. Well, that happens because the mesh might be limited by the polygons. And if we go to the polygon mode, you can see there's not much polygons to do some operations. That's totally fine because here in Blender there is remesh. All you need is to come up with the right voxel size, and it will sort of recalculate the mesh, and then it will be easier to work with the mesh. Again, if you want more details, just get the resolution lower, but don't go too low because it can freeze your computer if you try to recalculate it into millions of polygons. And the last thing I want to show you is how to create connectors manually just in case you need it. And so you see how much time we save using item. We're gonna need to create box, and the top part we're gonna scale it a little bit. Now it look like a connector. Again, the size is up to you to select the right size that you think is more suitable. What we're gonna need to do is to press Ctrl A and apply rotation and scale. That's gonna be needed because we're gonna use Boolean operations. And now we're gonna need to place it in the right position. The trick here will be to create a duplicate of the same cube later and scale it a little bit. So the bigger cube basically will be a hole and the smaller cube will be a plug. And now we're gonna need to add modifier called Boolean. So for the smaller cube, we're gonna use a Boolean with a union and join it with the base. So it actually makes one object right now. And for the bigger cube, we're gonna choose difference. Now when we disable the cube, we can see that there is a hole. And don't forget to apply the Boolean modifier so it's baked into the mesh. Well, pretty much that's it. Now we have connector. If you want to know more about this workflow in Blender, no worry, there is a video on my channel explaining exactly this workflow in more details. So check it by the link here, and I wish you nice creations. I of course gonna do the same exact thing for the left leg, and pretty much that's it. One last thing is to I'm gonna scale it to exact sizes that I'm gonna print it. In my case, we're gonna go for 30 centimeters. Okay, so I'm gonna add the measure here and scale it like this. Amazing. And final step before hitting the export button, select all the models, click Ctrl A and apply rotation and scale. That's very important so your slicing software sees the exact size that you desire. Done. Now this size is its original size. Let's export each object as STL and get started with printing finally. Technically, if you're printing something simple, you can completely skip the Blender part, but I just want you to have full control if something small goes wrong. I'm gonna do resin printing, but same workflow works for filament printer. I would say even with filament it's sort of easier to do, but here we go. I'm gonna drop all of this in my slicer software. I use Chitubox, but pretty much you can choose any other. I use the Chitubox. I like the simplicity around it. I almost all the time now use automatic support generation. I really hate that process and it might take quite a while, but the bigger figures are, the easier it goes, and yeah, after a while I figure it out. I cannot imagine how difficult it was like 4 or 5 years ago to do that. I'm relatively new to 3D printing. My background is more 3D. I can prepare anything in any way, but printing, well, there's a lot of details. How you place these supports, how you're gonna remove them later. Then, well, basically we're gonna start printing process. In my case, everything goes very smooth. Then we do the curing, cleaning, etc, etc, so you can see all the process. After that, the longest part of all of this is painting, because I really want it to look very nice. Painting goes in 2 steps. First, we need to put the base, and after the base is dried, then we can do the actual painting. This is my favorite anime from my childhood, and we're gonna put some effort. Well, not me really, but my girlfriend helped me a lot with this one while I was working on another video, so don't forget to subscribe. It takes around few days to complete it in the most nicest way, and after that we can enjoy these amazing results. Here we go. Really want to know what you think about the process. Drop the comments, I read all of them, guys. That was Steph. Like and subscribe. See you in the next one.